SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
If you're feeling anxious about your investments with all the economic volatility and chaos in Washington, tune in to SuperTalk Jackson on Wednesdays from 9 to 10 a.m. and Sundays from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. for Element Wealth Radio with Jeremy Nelson. Learn more at myelementwealth.com.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21. I want you to believe me, baby.
Starting your day off with Muddy Waters. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thank you for helping us jumpstart your day. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. You've got it locked in wherever you're listening, whether it's on a SuperTalk Mississippi radio station, on the app. Maybe you've got the live stream pulled up and you're watching at SuperTalk TV. We appreciate you joining us. And you can join the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. We appreciate you very much. What did I say? I'm despicable this morning. This message came through at nearly 9 o'clock last night. Richard Cross, your racist comment this morning about the monkey video was despicable and shows your true colors. You should be ashamed of yourself, but you got a good yuck in for you and your racist followers. Despicable. Makes me embarrassed to call Mississippi home. I don't remember what I said about the video.
Yeah, you got me on that one, man. I don't remember there being anything racist.
I don't really think we went down that road yesterday, but that's an interesting way to start the show this morning. I just kind of, I don't know. Anyway, feel free to refresh my memory if you would like to do so. And sorry that I've made you feel despicable and racist this morning. I don't think that there was anything that I said that falls into that category yesterday. But hey, if I did, I certainly will apologize for that. I just don't remember us spending much time on it. I really don't. I'm pausing because I'm genuinely trying to think when we talked about that video yesterday. I feel like we don't. I think I could go back through my rundown. I don't even see it, but hey, maybe your memory's better than mine. And I think you sent that message at 9 o'clock last night, so clearly it was eating at you, or maybe you were listening to the show at a later time. Regardless, we are glad to be with you this morning, and it's going to be what looks like another pretty nice day across the state of Mississippi. Not overly warm, not quite as warm as it was yesterday. Tupelo, you're going to have cloudy skies early, followed by partial clearing, a slight chance of a rain shower, high near 60 degrees. It was north at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Vicksburg, overcast with a high of 74. Winds out of the south-southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Macomb, there were areas of dense morning fog. Could be this morning have areas of dense morning fog. Overcast, high of 74 degrees. Winds out of the south and southwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then Pascagoula, areas of dense morning fog. So be careful. Slow down just a little bit out there. Partly to mostly cloudy, 68 degrees for the high winds, 5 to 10 out of the south and southwest. Allie Reynolds was born on this day in 1919. Who might that be? Maybe one of the lesser-known really good pitchers in Major League Baseball history. 6 World Series titles with the New York Yankees, a 6-time All-Star, born in Bethany, Oklahoma. When you think of World Series pitchers that won 6 titles and were 6-time MVPs, I don't know that Allie Reynolds is the first name that comes to mind. One of the all-time great singers from Mississippi, Leontine Price, born in 1927, an opera soprano. Porgy and Bess, Ada, Metropolitan Opera from 1961 until 1985. What a run. She was born in Laurel, Mississippi. Roberta Flack was born in 1937, the Grammy Award-winning pop vocalist. The first time I ever saw your face, killing me softly. Roberta Flack, born in Black Mountain, North Carolina. Mark Spitz, the great American swimmer, is 76 years old today. He was born in 1950. Won a then record 7 Olympic gold medals in the 1972 Munich Games from Modesto, California. The great white shark, Greg Norman, is 71 today. He was born in 1955 in Australia. 2-time British Open champion, 1986, 1993, was oh so close to the Masters. In 1995, let it slip away down the stretch. Kind of in that Olympic time of year, though this related to the Summer Olympics, American sprinter Justin Gatlin. He was born in 1982 and at one point carried the title of fastest man in the world. That's what you get when you win the gold in the 100-meter, and that's what he did in 2004 at the Olympic Games, born in Brooklyn, New York. Where were the 04 Summer Games? 96 was Atlanta, 2000 was Sydney. Remember where 2004?
Greece, is that correct?
That sounds right, in Athens.
2004 Athens, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, good call. Good call. This day in history, we go back to 60 AD, the year 60 AD. It is thought that the Apostle Paul's major shipwreck at Malta happened on this day, February 10th, 60.
I always love seeing dates like that. Yeah, 60. It's like when it's 1 degrees or something. You know, that's a while back there, 60.
Got to go back a ways. Edmund Halley is appointed as the second astronomer at the Astronomer Royal at the Greenwich Observatory in 1720. I'm assuming this was a good appointment because we named a comet after him.
Yeah, the guy that was in front of him, man. Yeah. Just didn't do his job well enough, I guess.
It was right there to be seen, and he just couldn't see it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's all about timing. Like when you hit the biggest oil well gusher ever. That happened on this day in 1916. Edward Duane's Cerro Azul number 4 in Tampico, Mexico. Oh, it was black gold. It was Texas tea gushing 600 feet into the air. Yeah, can you imagine you hit oil and it goes straight into the air 2 football fields high?
And you're like, where's the cork? I mean, let's not lose all this.
Yes. Do we have something that we can catch it with coming down? Oh, man.
600 feet. I mean, think of that. Just black gold. Gushing. Like a skyscraper.
Mm-hmm.
Oil.
Stagecoach The Western film directed by John Ford, starring Claire Trevor and, the great cowboy John Wayne, premiered in Miami on this day in 1939. 1 year later, in 1940, the first Tom and Jerry cartoon, Puss Gets the Boot, created by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera, released in theaters by MGM. First gold record was issued on this day in 1942. Glenn Miller and his orchestra received it for selling 1 million copies of Chattanooga Choo Choo. A couple of other things that have happened on this day in history. We'll give you those coming up. We'll remind you that you can join us on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. That's the best way for you to join the conversation. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. We're back with you right after this.
Dogs begin to bark, hounds begin to howl. Watch out, strange camp people, little red roosters on the prowl.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Nice early morning surprise.
On Super Talk, Mississippi.
Well, I ain't superstitious, but a black cat is crossing my trail. Well, I ain't superstitious, black cat is crossing my trail. Don't sweep me with no blow. Out of my head, get put in.
Thanks for joining us. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi, presented by Community Bank. On this day in 1968, American two-time world champion Peggy Fleming comfortably won the Olympic women's figure skating gold medal at the Grenoble Winter Games. In 1971, A&M Records released Tapestry, the second album by singer-songwriter Carole King. It went on to win 4 Grammys, including Album of the Year in 1972, topped the chart in 4 different countries, and went on to sell 30 million copies. Carole King had a pretty good run.
Oh, yeah. Phenomenal musician.
Warner Brothers in 1978 released the eponymous debut album of American rock band Van Halen, featuring the singles You Really Got Me, Running with the Devil, and Jamie's Crying. It becomes a commercial smash success. Sales of over 10 million copies. That's not what really happens normally with your debut album. Usually kind of have to build to that. Oh, yeah, we sold 10 million copies of this one. This day in 1990, South African President F.W. de Klerk made the announcement that Nelson Mandela will be freed one day from today. Speaking of things that lots of people consumed, do you remember when Oprah Winfrey sat down for a conversation with Michael Jackson? It was an episode that was simply called Michael Jackson Talks to Oprah Winfrey. It aired on ABC. 90 million people watched. And finally, a sad day for one of the greatest chess players of all time. 1996, the IBM chess-playing computer Deep Blue became the first computer to win a game of chess against a reigning human chess champion. The victim on that day, Garry Kasparov.
Yeah, he beat him, Deep Blue, beforehand. That was a few days ago, if I remember. And then they played again, and Deep Blue ended up beating him. I don't know if it was a year later or a few days later.
So Kasparov beat Deep Blue, and then he went back and reprogrammed. And
Yeah, Deep Blue got beat on the first one, and then not long after, Kasparov sits down again and gets beat by Deep Blue.
Yeah. What would he would have done with Bobby Fischer?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Did Bobby Fischer beat Kasparov? Was that how that story went?
I think that's how it went, right.
Yeah. All right, we got news headlines for you this morning. Potentially good news for Mississippi farmers. They could soon see financial relief after the state Senate passed legislation eliminating the 1.5% sales tax on certain agricultural equipment. After being introduced by State Senator Neil Whaley, he's a Republican from Potts Camp, and passing out of the Senate Finance Committee yesterday, Senate Bill 2272 passed the chamber nearly unanimously. The vote was 50-1. According to the bill, the tax exemption would apply to farm tractors and farm implements used directly in agricultural production, including equipment used to raise poultry, livestock, fish, crops, and ornamental plants. It would also cover parts and labor to maintain or repair that equipment as long as it is used on a farm. The parts and labor piece is a big deal, especially with the cost of new equipment. Extends to logging, pulpwood, and tree farming, along with related parts and labor, provided the machinery is self-propelled or permanently attached to self-propelled equipment. If you've ever seen any of the equipment that loggers and tree farmers use, big, heavy-duty, complicated stuff, not cheap to fix, and not a ton of people that work on them. Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann said this was one of his legislative priorities this year, and said today the Mississippi passed this bill to eliminate the 1.5% sales tax on agricultural equipment. Mississippi farmers have been struggling with multiple years of losses, and this is a straightforward way we can provide immediate relief and cut their operating costs. It's not a massive amount of money at the micro level, but when you kind of zoom it out and you think about how big the farming industry is in Mississippi, it's significant and could make a difference for farmers. Now it goes to the House, and we'll see what the House says. And several pieces of legislation that have received really high passage rates. So you had that yesterday with the farm sales tax bill. And then yesterday morning we visited with Bryce Wiggins, and his civics bill came to the floor yesterday. Legislation requiring public schools in Mississippi to teach students how the government works cruised through the Senate. Republicans and Democrats voted to send the bill across the Capitol to the House for consideration. This was a pre-session promise that was made by Bryce Wiggins to continue advocating for civics to be a mandatory course for high school graduation. Also requires schools to teach civics as a standalone course from 8th grade through 12th grade. According to the bill, it would, by the way, it was unanimous, 52-0. According to the bill, it would teach history, heritage, and civic life of the United States and the state of Mississippi. Pupils would learn more about the U.S. Constitution and basic principles of democracy, including the duties of each branch of the federal government, along with the separation of powers. Mississippi Department of Education would be charged with putting together the curriculum and updating it on a time-to-time basis. It would become United States Government and Civics as the name of the class, passed by both chambers and signed by the governors. This would go into effect July 1st, but it would be a year from this August when it would go into effect in the classroom. So this would begin with the 27-28 school year. Feels like a good common sense thing. Would also like to see financial literacy go side by side with that. I know that's something that both sides have talked about to some degree. If you're going to add that civics government class, especially if it's a half-semester class, let's make a half-semester financial literacy class that's also a requirement for graduation. Really teaching 9th, 10th, 11th graders the power of compound interest, what to do with your checking account, how credit scores affect things you do in your day-to-day life, might be the most impactful thing that happens in high schools. You worked in the financial industry forever, Lance. I mean, is that overstating it at all?
Oh, not at all, no. The amount of people that, I mean, even in the professional world, that's not their thing. That is not what they focus on every day. They have jobs, they have lives, they have other things maybe they're studying, working hard on. And it is a language, it's kind of like Greek. You're learning a whole new language and a lot of concepts that may be foreign. So show
what it looks like and how much it actually costs you if you carry a balance on a credit card at 17%.
Yeah, I mean, when you start early, as with any, like a language, it's much easier to learn. So I think that's something that should be in play very, very early. Not 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. I mean, this needs to be taught very early in the elementary school years, just like you're teaching language. Because that's what you're dealing with here. It's a whole way of thinking. So you think even earlier than high school? Yeah, definitely. You talking about financial literacy? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You want them to be good at it, or do you just want them to memorize something? I'd say I'd like them to be good at it. And maybe bail this country out. The high school thing is we're talking about the time when they can leave school and go open their own bank account and open their own checking account and can start applying for credit cards and, I don't know. I mean, to each their own, I guess. But, yeah, my opinion in working in it, I think it would be helpful to have a much earlier start with mathematics and things of that nature that apply to the real world that we live in. So it starts, I remember my parents giving me $1 saying, all right, I'd be like 8 or 9. Go see what you can get for this. And so that's what you had dollars, you were working with different types of currency, and fundamentally things were much more simple. And I think the world is much more complex financially, and, kids ought to be weighted into that much earlier. Department of Human Services announced that the Food and Nutrition Service has approved its request for mass replacement benefits for some residents impacted by the recent winter storm that swept across the state. SNAP households in the 15 hardest-hit counties are automatically receiving replacement benefits. Federal government frequently does this when a power outage causes food purchased with SNAP benefits to spoil. Counties where residents will automatically receive replacement benefits without the need to submit a request: Alcorn, Choctaw, Grenada, Holmes, Humphreys, Lafayette, Montgomery, Panola, Sharkey, Tallahatchie, Tippah, Tishomingo, Yellowbusha, and Yazoo. Some other counties affected may have some benefits available, but that will take filing a form and seeing what the government decides to do with that. Back with you after this. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Mississippi, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross.
Now that's entertainment.
Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank is rooted in our community. A disturbing story out of Pontotoc, an investigation underway after human remains were discovered along a popular walking trail. Law enforcement said the discovery was made Sunday afternoon on the Tanglefoot Trail between West 8th Street and Highway 15. Officials said someone found a skull along with other skeletal remains in a vegetated area near the trail. The remains being sent to the state medical examiner for an autopsy. At this time, the deceased has not been identified. Police have temporarily blocked off the area where the bones were found as the assessment continues. Hey. Been there a while and just found it, or new, or I don't know. Yesterday, Ole Miss reopened its doors back up and running after damages from Winter Storm Fern caused a 2-week hiatus of students attending classes and staff working. Ahead of the historic ice storm, Ole Miss was initially scheduled to be shut down for a day on January 26th, but iced over roads, downed trees, and power outages Among other damages, prompted university officials to close the campus until yesterday, February 9th, so the work could be done to ensure students and employees could return safely. Ole Miss has worked with the federal government and is moving forward with a modified spring calendar, one that has been shortened and does still include a full spring break. Current deadline to add or drop classes becomes February 16th. Spring break, March 7th through the 15th. Midterms taken on March 16th, so the day after spring break. Good luck with that. And the back half of the semester will operate under a typical schedule. Final exams May 4th through the 8th, and convocation, graduation occurring on May 9th. That is a condensed spring semester. Already feels like the spring semester goes by in the blink of an eye, and then you take 2 weeks out of it, just a couple of weeks into the semester. Man. Let's get to your morning sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort online, pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort, your home for casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. Friday, we rewind. Last Friday proved to be an impressive one for William Carey's stick and ball sports, baseball and softball. Not so much for the opposing hitters. The Crusaders were on the right side of shutouts in the two sports in the same day as the baseball club beat Campbellsville 6-0, and the softball team annihilated Texas A&M Victoria 14-zip, all without allowing a single hit. Baseball side, it was a combined no-hitter, game 2 of the doubleheader, following a 13-2 win over Columbia International in the season debut. A trio of pitchers took care of business against Campbellsville. Everett Thompson with 7 strikeouts in 4 innings. Jason Halsey, 3 strikeouts in a pair of innings. And Jimmy Johnson closing it out, punching out all 3 batters that he faced. And it was a one-woman wrecking show over on the softball field as Ryan Hornsby handled things in the circle. 5 scoreless innings, 4 strikeouts, 10-run top of the 5th for William Carey to walk away victorious in a shortened matchup. That's a pretty good opening day for a pair of sports on your campus. The Kansas Jayhawks gave number 1 and unanimous number 1 Arizona its first loss of the season last night. Flory Badunga had a double-double. Number 9 Kansas defeated top-ranked and previously unbeaten Arizona 82-78. Wildcats were 23-0. They were 10-0 in Big 12 play. That is no more. Arizona held a 3-point lead at the half, led by as many as 11 before Kansas took its first lead with 9.5 to play. Wild environment at Fog Allen last night. A lot of people say the greatest basketball atmosphere in all of college sports. Some people say in all of basketball. San Francisco 49ers defensive lineman Keon White was the victim of a shooting in San Francisco early Monday morning, sustaining a bullet wound to his ankle. According to a statement from the team, he underwent surgery Monday afternoon. His injuries not considered to be career-threatening. The Niners said they will provide further updates when appropriate. San Francisco police said they responded to a shooting at a business on the 1700 block of Mission Street at around 4:06 a.m. local time. Found a victim with the apparent gunshot wound. The responding officers provided aid, called for paramedics, said the victim was taken to a hospital to be treated for non-life-threatening injuries. I'm assuming this is one of those that falls into the category of Mama said nothing good ever happens after midnight. Unless this is a particularly early riser who was just getting his Monday morning off to a good start and happened to catch a stray. Doesn't seem like that's the case. Of all the places to get shot, the ankle.
Yeah, pulled an Achilles move there.
Ugh.
Yeah, and that area looks like it's just a bunch of restaurants and bars and stuff right off of the Central Freeway.
So you're going with out late, not up early?
I wouldn't know where to go. It looks like a very congested area, which you got like a Whole Foods and all kind of nice stuff in there.
Yeah.
It's not like the spot you would think you'd get shot in the ankle.
Yeah. If you followed at all the saga of Alabama basketball player Charles Bediako, well, his college career is now over. Again. After an Alabama circuit court judge denied his motion for a preliminary injunction. That was yesterday afternoon, ending the 7-foot center season with the Crimson Tide. The judge, Daniel Pruitt, halted Bediako's bid to regain eligibility after he left Alabama for the NBA draft in 2023, signed a two-way NBA contract, and played the past 3 seasons in the G League, all moves that disqualified him from collegiate eligibility and competition, according to the NCAA. The judge ruled that Bediako did not have a quote-unquote reasonable expectation he would be allowed to return to college basketball when no other player had been granted eligibility under the same circumstances. Charlie Baker is the president of the NCAA. He said he was glad the court upheld the rules of our members. Bediako was averaging 10 points and 5 rebounds in 5 games with Alabama this year. He was given a first-of-its-kind chance or second chance to play college basketball when a different judge granted him a temporary restraining order. That allowed Bediako to join Alabama mid-year, 3 years after being a big part of their defense on the 22-23 team. Ultimately, the judge said that Bediako did not meet the criteria for a preliminary injunction that would have allowed him to play the rest of this season because he had failed to establish that he would suffer irreparable harm, failed to establish that he has no adequate remedy at law without the issuance of the injunction, failed to demonstrate that he has at least reasonable chance of success on the ultimate merits of those claims that the NCAA had violated antitrust laws in his case. So no more pro basketball player Charles Bediako playing college basketball for Alabama. By the way, Alabama at Ole Miss tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. Lindsey Vonn went to Instagram yesterday to post about her crash and injury. Said it's a complex tibia fracture that will require multiple surgeries to fix properly. She crashed in the downhill race on Sunday at the Milan Cortina Olympics, the Winter Olympics. She was racing despite having the torn ACL in her left knee that she had suffered 9 days earlier. About her crash, Lindsey Vonn says, I was simply 5 inches too tight on my line when my right arm hooked inside the gate, twisting me and resulting in my crash. My ACL and past injuries had nothing to do with my crash. Sounds like Lindsey Vonn's father has said enough. Said earlier Monday that she would no longer race if he had any influence over her decision. The quote, she's 41. This is the end of her career. There will be no more ski races for Lindsey Vonn as long as I have anything to say about it. Don't know how much you have to say about it because, as you just pointed out, she's 41. Her father, Kildo, and the rest of Vonn's family, a brother, 2 sisters, have been with her while she was being treated at a hospital in Italy. The hospital said late Sunday in a statement that she had undergone surgery on her left leg. U.S. ski team said she was in stable condition. Gutsy, gutsy, gutsy. That is your morning sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort. MRC is back with you after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
The switch on. Mornings with Richard Cross. On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Yeah!
Back with you, Mornings with Richard Cross. 7 o'clock hour on the way. We've got the news coming up in just a little bit. I will let you know that we're going to have a busy 7 and 8 o'clock hour. We're going to have busy 7 and 8 o'clock hours. Robert Johnson from the House of Representatives comes your way at 7:37. The State Treasurer, David McRae, and also the Attorney General, Lynn Fitch, will be on with us as we cruise through the show this morning. Right now, we give you a Mississippi Lottery update. Your lottery update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery, online at mslottery.com. That's the Mississippi Lottery. No jackpot winner last night for Powerball, which means Wednesday's jackpot is up to $126 million, an estimated cash value closing in on $60 million. Tonight, a big Mega Millions drawing. Estimated jackpot, $366 million. Cash in your pocket, before taxes anyway, $165,600,000. Taxes ever just kind of rub you the wrong way? Knowing that if you won $165 million through absolutely nothing, no doing of their own, the government would take 40% of that between the federal government and the state government? Just because you picked the right numbers, you earn the right to give them 40% of that.
Yeah, or just because you went to work, yeah.
Yeah.
Get up and work.
I mean, I'm not questioning that taxes have a role. They do. It'd be nice if it felt like that.
They seem to be ended up in a lot of other people's pockets, though, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. People that I wouldn't necessarily on my own choose to support some of their activities, but our federal leaders seem to think that I need to and you need to. Anyway, sorry, that was a look, I mean, if I won $165 million in a lottery, I guess I'd be happy to pay the taxes, but still, it's like, it's $45 million of my money that you're taking. Why? Actually, more than that, like $60 million of it. What'd you do to earn that? What did I do to lose that? Time is running out on two unclaimed $2 million winning tickets that expire later this month. One $2 million Mega Millions ticket was purchased at Pilot Travel Center in Moss Point. It expires on February 22nd. Another one sold at Mike's Food and Gas in Coldwater expires in February 23rd. That's $4 million waiting to be claimed. Can you imagine? I guess if you didn't know, you'd never know.
Yeah, that's the worst part, right? Not knowing?
Oh, I disagree.
You think so?
I disagree. That would not be any, not knowing would not be nearly as bad as knowing and having lost it.
So let's say, hypothetical, you pass away one day, you get to the pearly gates, you go in, you kick your feet up on the couch, and guy says, hey, man, you know that $5 million lottery ticket that they were looking for? It was in your winter coat pocket that you never put back on. How would that make you feel? You know, I had it all along. I'm
going to go along with your scenario all the way. I'm going to say at that point, I do not care.
Yeah, at that point, you're in
beyond the pearly gates.
You're in heaven at that point.
Not remotely concerned about that.
You have to pull like a ghost, to get back. You have to tell Obi somehow or nothing.
Yeah, I mean, if I find out on March 15th that I was the one that actually bought a lottery ticket in Coldwater, and on February 23rd it expired, and I forfeited $2 million, in which case I would have been more than happy to pay the
taxes on that.
$800,000 in taxes, yeah, whatever. That would be hard to live with. But thanks to strong lottery ticket sales, more than $12 million was transferred to the state of Mississippi in January, continuing strong momentum from December's record month. So far this fiscal year, lottery sales have generated near $79 million to support roads and bridges across the state once the $80 million mark is reached. Additional funds this year will go to the Education Enhancement Fund. The lottery is now up over $750 million returned to the state, funding roads, bridges, repairs, and education initiatives since its inception. That's really good. Really, really good. Well, Richard, it was going to be more than that. We were never going to have to pay for college or roads again. Yeah. Think about what you would have had to pay had that money not been there. Adds up over time. Kind of like with the tax on the online sports gambling. I believe Senator Blunt said, it's only $20 or $30 million a year at this point. Well, okay, maybe that's not as much as it might have been at a previous time before the predictive markets. $30 million over the course of 10 years is $300 million. It's not chicken feed. MRC, 7 o'clock hour on the way. News is next.
Your home for
the views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
People want to hear the truth, man. That's what we're going to do.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm, on SuperTalk TV, of course, on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations, wherever you're listening, however you're listening, whether it's on demand, live, or I guess those are the two options. The point is, whether it's when we provide it or it's convenient to you, we appreciate you being part of the conversation. And if you send me a text message on the C Spire text line at 9 o'clock at night, I might see it. It might be the first thing that pops up the next morning, or it might get lost in the shuffle. So if I don't respond, my apologies. That C Spire text line is open to you at 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. So much good happening at C Spire. They've got the best in wireless nationwide 5G coverage. They've got the best in fiber internet. It's fiber to the home. It comes in gigabit speeds and faster. And, of course, they've got their business solutions team, business and IT services. Learn how that can help your business as well. Check them out online, cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank. Rooted in our community, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors, dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. You may not have seen this story. It broke last night. And it may or may not feel like it has a big impact on you where you sit today. But this is going to get a lot of headlines. The Wall Street Journal, in an exclusive breaking story last night, the headline, Trump to repeal landmark climate finding in huge regulatory rollback. If you heard our conversation last Tuesday morning, so a week ago today, with the Secretary of Homeland Safety, Kristi Noem, you may remember that one of the things that we talked about was deregulation. I said to her that deregulation has been a huge buzzword in this particular Trump administration. And we were talking in that case about the way FEMA operates and the speed with which they are able to get money to people who really need it to get supplies to people that really need it. And that's a good thing. Regulation can be a good thing, but the problem is when you start regulating businesses, entities, entire business sectors, normally you go too far. And the red tape creates just this gridlock where you can't get anything done. We've seen that in California as minimal houses have begun the reconstruction process after the Palisades fires that happened over a year ago now. And there have been people that have just thrown up their hands and are like, I'm just moving on. Which may be what ultimately the leaders in California want, because I think they would like to see affordable housing built there. And if those people will just throw it up and sell the property, they'll probably use some of the tax money that they collect in California to buy that property and then develop as they see fit. But the announcement, or at least the story last night, that the Trump administration is planning this week to repeal the Obama-era scientific finding that serves as the legal basis for federal greenhouse gas regulation. It's the most far-reaching rollback of U.S. climate policy to date. The reversal targets the 2009 endangerment finding, which concluded that 6 greenhouse gases pose a threat to public health and welfare. The finding provided the legal underpinning for the EPA's climate rules, which limited emissions from power plants and tightened fuel economy standards for vehicles under the Clean Air Act. Lee Zeldin is the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, and he said in an interview, this amounts to the largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States. The final rule is set to be made public later this week. It removes the regulatory requirements to measure, report, certify, and comply with federal greenhouse gas emission standards for motor vehicles. It repeals associated compliance programs, credit provisions, and reporting obligations for industries, according to officials in the administration. It would not apply to rules governing emissions from power plants and other stationary sources, such as oil and gas facilities, but repealing the finding could open up the door to rolling back regulations that affect those facilities as well. So who's going to see this as a victory? The fossil fuel industry, gas, oil, and others. And obviously, climate change advocates and alarmists will see this as a devastating blow. Trump has framed fossil fuels as vital to economic and national security, and has argued that the expanded reliance on them will ultimately help lower energy prices. So let's talk about, briefly, and I'm not really qualified to dive deep into this. Maybe some of you are. Climate change is real. Right? It's a real thing. The climate changes. And scientists would tell you that we've got 1 million years of evidence of such change of the climate. There was a time when we were in an ice age. We've seen levels of the oceans rise and fall over the course of human history and before. We've seen glaciers form. We've seen glaciers melt. Polar ice caps supposedly getting smaller, all those things. The climate does change. That is an indisputable fact. The question is, are the greenhouse gas emissions and some of the things that have been put in place the cause for that change? And I think there's probably science that says, in part, yes. But is the role that the United States is playing in that significant enough to make a difference? Especially when much of the rest of the world, China being maybe the most egregious, has basically no climate regulation. I think most people would absolutely sign on to the fact that we don't need to be dumping chemicals into public water supply from factories. And there are people that have taken advantage is not the right word, but have just laughed in the face of the rules that are there and do whatever they want to do. It's no good. But if you are able to unleash the power of the energy industry for the United States with something that is not necessarily having the effect that it has been claimed to have, then maybe you're doing something right. C-Spire text line, all climate science is a political tool. I don't think I agree with that. I don't think all climate science is a political tool. I do think climate science has been weaponized in some ways for the benefit of some. The Biden administration, on the heels of the Obama administration, with that one Trump administration in between, put in onerous rules on automobile manufacturers in this major push where billions and billions of dollars was wasted on energy stations and clean energy and all of those things. We've seen inefficiency all over the place. Kind of feels like the energy model most people agree with would say all of the above is the right approach. Yes, we need to leverage our natural resources, the fossil fuel industry. But yeah, we also need to try and figure out a way to leverage solar power and water power, hydroelectric power. I guess that's water. Kind of all rolled into one. The decision to repeal the endangerment finding might also create fresh uncertainty for companies with global operations, which could find themselves caught between lower environmental standards at home and a higher baseline for emissions rules abroad. Some states may put their own rules in place, which could make for a confusing fabric of rules. Trump signed an executive order on Inauguration Day last year directing the EPA to submit an assessment on whether the endangerment finding, which the Obama and Biden administrations used to set greenhouse gas emission limits on vehicles, power plants, industrial facilities, should be kept in place. The EPA announced a proposal to rescind the finding last July. Officials saying this is going to equate to $1 trillion in regulation cuts.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Rise and shine with information and insight.
Check it out.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Ooh, a little hungry one. Open up a package of my bologna. Ooh, I think the toast is done. Top it with a little of my bologna. Never gonna stop, eat it up. Such a tasty snack, I always eat too much. It's so wrong, but I'll still be back to my bologna.
7 o'clock hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services, plus a custom plan that fits you. Are you an HR director that's overwhelmed this time of year, had to get all the W-2s and all the 1099s out, trying to get all the corporate tax stuff in place? MWG Employer Services can help. Learn how they can help you and how they can develop a custom plan that fits you and your business. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. Some of your messages on the C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Meteorology is climate science. Mo says, Richard, if man is affecting the climate more than volcanic activity, I would think deforestation is our biggest contributor. That's I guess, maybe an entire separate conversation. From the standpoint of when you get massive forest fires, you're seeing tons of smoke and chemical that's going into the air. one of the, I guess when you talk about deforestation, you're talking about just getting rid of trees altogether, but the fact that forests are not maintained is a big factor that leads to the wildfires that we see annually in the United States. If car and truck emissions are so bad for the environment, how come the interstate always looks greener and has to be cut a lot more than my yard does, and the trees have to be trimmed more? Russ in Rankin says businesses choose every day to do business in states that are friendly and avoid those that are not. One example of that, the number of people with means who are choosing to leave the state of California. A lot of people pointing to Mark Zuckerberg spending $150 million on a house in a very exclusive Florida neighborhood is more evidence of people getting out of a place that they don't have to be. I don't know that that's necessarily 1 + 1 = 2. Jim in Ripley says one of the issues with science is the way that term is used. Looked up the definition of science, and I think you realize that what most people call science is in actuality theory, unless the definition of science has changed since I was in school. Somebody said, make acid rain great again. I don't really think that that's what we are advocating for here. $44 million more acres of trees exist now than they did in the forest in 1920. Message on the C Spire text line. Off-topic question, but will you guys ever take calls again? I'd say ever and never are a long time. Candidly, we decided that the text line was a better way to streamline that process. Easier for many of you to send a text message. You don't have to wait on hold for a chance to talk. And honestly, callers made for, while sometimes fun and entertaining radio, there was a lot of bad radio. Here's the example. Hey, Lance, let's check in on the phone line. Let's go to Lance in Greenwood. Hey, Lance.
What up,
Good
man?
morning. How are you? I'm good, Lance. What's on your mind? Man, I was listening to what you said and earlier that it's just like, okay, got to get to the point. Like if you could go to a caller and he'd say, good morning. Hey, this is what's on my mind. Boom, 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 and then move on. It's just like bad phone connection. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good morning. Yeah, we're great. Thanks. It didn't flow the way we wanted it to. Jim said you've got some sharp listeners and funny too. Yeah, maybe so. We might at some point. But the C Spire text line has been incredibly effective as a way to connect with you, to get your thoughts that are relevant to what we're talking. And that's the other thing. You might be having a conversation that's in depth about a particular topic, and then somebody just, even if they tell Lance when they call in, hey, I want to talk about greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, great. And then you start talking about Epstein. Well, that's fine. That's a conversation we can get to. It's just not where we were right there. Somebody said, I appreciate the text line. Most callers aren't radio ready. Yeah, it's not a slight. It's just kind of a fact of how it works. There are a lot of people on the Republican side of things that think there is a bright future for the representative from Texas, Brandon Gill. He was on an interview with Fox News yesterday and was talking about the SAVE Act. If you have not kept up, that has been something that is debated heavily. It is the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. It is what Republicans have proposed to safeguard our elections. That would include proof of citizenship, in-person registration, a purge of the voter rolls, penalties for election workers who register someone without required proof, and private right of action. It was first introduced in July of 2024. passed in the House but stalled in the Senate. There has been a big push among Republican legislators to get the SAVE Act passed to try to clean up elections. Brandon Gill, the representative from Texas, says that he believes that is going to happen in the House, and they've got to get it to the Senate very, very quickly.
I expect every Republican in the House to vote for the SAVE Act. This is something we've been talking about for a long time, and, I think it's particularly relevant after 4 years of Joe Biden letting in 15 million plus illegal aliens into the country. What we want to say is simply that only if you are an American citizen should you be voting in American elections. A core part of national sovereignty is the ability to determine that only our people, only the people who have full allegiance to America and its institutions should be voting. And remember that every time an illegal alien votes in American elections, that waters down or disenfranchises American citizens who should have sole representative power in this country. This is something that the vast majority of Americans agree with, and we're going to get it passed.
That's Brandon Gill talking about the House of Representatives. Says he thinks every Republican voter is going to vote for it. We talked about it yesterday. Chuck Schumer and others have been sounding the beacon call that we will not do this. It's Jim Crow 2.0. There will not be a single Democrat that votes for the SAVE Act, that votes for enhanced voter ID and making that universal across all 50 states. I think 37 states currently have voter ID laws. Of course, Mississippi is one of them. And this is not an issue that should be controversial if you want free and fair elections. The fact of the matter is the American people, at a clip of 86%, according to recent polling, want fair and free elections and support voter ID. And they do it with an overwhelming majority in all demographics. High-ranking, elected Democrats do not. And they scream racism, and they scream Jim Crow, and you have Kamala Harris going on and doing an interview talking about, well, if you got to think about who this is going to affect. Her argument was people in rural communities don't have access to a Kinko's or an Office Max where they could make a copy of their proof of citizen. It's the most asinine and ridiculous and insulting argument that you could make. Is the Senate going to get it done? It sounds like the House is going to. A lot of people pushing for the Senate to invoke the filibuster so they can get it done and get it across the finish line. It may be the only way at this point that you can create fair elections. The number of countries globally that have voter ID laws, it's significant. And maybe the most significant thing about the list is that the United States does not own it. Wisconsin, this is a great example. Wisconsin amended their constitution, put a voter ID law in place, and then they elected Democrats. It's not just a Republican issue or just a Democrat issue. It's just a fair and free issue. Will it get done? I don't know. Robert Johnson joins us next from the Mississippi House of Representatives. Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Hey, how's it going, man?
The news you need.
Every 10, 15 minutes, there's something.
The talk you love.
To really talk about the things that matter. I'm into all that stuff.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
The Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation and the Dixie National Rodeo go hand in hand. On Thursday, you can catch middays with Gerard Gibbert at the Trademark in Jackson, as he teams up with the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation to grow the future of our state's agriculture at the Sale of Champions. Find out how the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation helps students get to college through this annual event, an event that is brought to you in part by the Mississippi Beef Council. Happy to be joined by our first guest this morning, the Minority Leader in the Mississippi House of Representatives, Robert Johnson. He is Vice Chair of the House State Affairs Committee. Mr. Vice Chairman, good morning.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well, and I always appreciate your time. I'm curious on a couple of bills that passed with an overwhelming majority, if not unanimous support yesterday in the Senate, that are now going to be headed to the House side, and what you think the temperature is on these. First of all, the 1.5% sales tax elimination on agriculture purchases, tractors, supplies, labor, and parts related to those to try and help out the ag community. I think it was 50-1 that vote passed in the Senate yesterday. Will be making its way across the hall. What do you anticipate that looking like in the House?
I think it'll probably go the same way. I mean, we all support farmers. I know Democrats believe in small business. We think it's the backbone of the state of Mississippi. And small farmers, farmers, period. But we have a lot of small farms in this state, and they need our help. And I just think it's the agricultural community and the business community in this state is very important. It's always been part of our economic structure. And so anything we can do to help them, given that the president has passed all these tariffs that have killed the sale of agricultural products worldwide. So that's been a difficult thing to swallow.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess when you think about a smaller farmer, you eliminate a 1.5% sales tax on $1 million piece of equipment. You're talking about real money that remains in your pocket. Yeah. It's not a tax refund or a credit, but a money that's not going to have to come out of your pocket.
Yeah, I mean that money could go to seed or fertilizer or other things that you otherwise would be straining to buy. It's very important.
Yeah, another bill that passed unanimously yesterday was Senator Wiggins' bill about bringing civics back to the classroom at the junior high and high school level, starting in 8th grade, mandatory for high school graduation. We talked with Senator Wiggins about that some yesterday. We know that at times government can be complicated, but it's not always complicated, at least if you understand the way that it's supposed to work. Is the House going to support that as well?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say. I mean, I took civics all through high school. I didn't know they had stopped teaching it. So, and all my kids are adults, and they all had government classes. So, yeah, it's a very important. It had a great impact on me. I don't know that I would have been as interested in the law or politics without Mr. Dickey's civics class in the 9th grade. I mean, he was a stalwart at Natchez High. So I remember that distinctly.
It's funny you say that. Yesterday when I was talking with Senator Wiggins, I mentioned Mr. Sharp by name. It was 2 semesters. It was Mississippi Studies in 1 semester, and it was government in the second semester. And the government piece of it was understanding the branches and all those things, and Mississippi Studies was focused on the counties and local government. But yeah, I remember that vividly as well. You and I have talked a good bit about education reform. There were some things that you wanted to see in those bills that weren't necessarily there, specifically transportation and making sure that it was readily available. Close vote in the House. The Senate didn't even bring the House bill out of the Education Committee and died. There are individual pieces of what was in the House bill that have been created as Senate bills that have kind of come over to the House. Where is that debate headed?
Well, we passed a bill in the House after the school choice bill that gave teachers a $5,000 pay raise, and it provided close to $18 million for D&F school districts to bolster, to help them overcome whatever problems that money could solve in those districts to help them be better. And those were 2 things that that I was and a number of people were in support of. And I think the entire House has been in support of it. So we have that in one bill. And I know some of the same things are coming from the Senate. I think they passed a $2,000 teacher pay raise. I don't know if they provided money for D and F districts, but I think that's an important thing. I mean, you're only as strong as your weakest link. I know it's a cliche, but I really believe we have a responsibility to make sure the state has a responsibility to help those districts who are struggling to do better. They just don't have the resources. House Bill 1 last year changed the way PERS works. It created that new Tier 5 system, and we're already seeing some adjustments. Terrible idea. Well, I think there were people a year ago that said, hey, we're going to make some adjustments to this. It's going to happen over the course. We're already seeing some adjustments specifically for first responders and people that are working in law enforcement, where that work requirement, instead of being 35 years, would be at 25 years. Some changes to the teacher stuff as well. Let me go back, though. You said terrible idea with Tier 5. Why is that? Well, just on a very practical level, the retirement system and our health care benefits were a major recruiting tool for teachers who are, right now we're 50th in teacher pay in the country, in starting teacher pay. We're probably somewhere around there on average in Mississippi for first responders, especially police and law enforcement. And so one of the things that we could always tout and help was we had a great retirement system. We provided that great service for our employees. And I know we're in a critical situation with the retirement system. The Tier 5 idea does not solve that problem. But at the same time, it doesn't really solve the problem. Doesn't go far enough to solve the problem. It also it guts the retirement system in terms of being able to attract new employees. So thank goodness first responders, firemen around the state who were grandfathered in but saw the danger of it. They paying attention, stood up, called their legislators, say, look, you got to do something. This is a bad idea. You got to fix this. And so we are. And the House passed a bill. Well, they didn't pass a bill. They had a provision in the school choice bill to make some corrections. And so I think there is a sentiment in both houses. Well, there's an understanding, as you said last year, that we're going to have to make some fixes. And I think it's coming. So, the more adjustments we can make, the better. And we need to continue to talk about what we do to help the retirement system. When you say that the implementation of Tier 5 is not the way to fix the retirement system, and when we say fix, we're talking about that massive unfunded liability, the fact that it's not sustainable in its current state in perpetuity, how do you fix that? Well, look, I keep saying this, and everybody keeps dancing around it. Lieutenant Governor ran his last election. Oh, we cut 2,500 state employee jobs. Like, that's a great thing. And people think, oh, that was wasted employment. Those, we don't have to provide that service anymore. No, they didn't do that. They privatized those jobs, lost those benefits, stopped those people from paying into the retirement system. For what? They were, the services we're providing through private companies are far and away not nearly as good as the service we were providing when we had state employees providing that service. And I don't know why we keep moving away from doing the job that people elected us to do. Government doesn't exist to create private economic development opportunities. That's a great byproduct. But our main job is to provide good public safety, good public education, good public utility, good public transportation, and good public health care. And I say public health care, people act like public health care is all private. The majority of the hospitals in this state are state county hospitals. They're county hospitals. They exist to provide health care for the people in that area, not to be, over the top profitable, but you want them to be able to be self-sustaining. But that's what we're here for. And so why do we keep transferring the services we provide to private companies, whether it be private prisons or private companies taking up child support, whatever it is? We do those jobs. So when you take 2,700 people paying into the system out, and you still having the same number of people or an increasing number of people taking money out of the retirement system, that's a problem. And that is not my assertion. That's what the executive director of the retirement system said. And so, what can we do? Stop taking care of your buddies, privatizing all the state jobs, and put those people back to work and get them back to paying into the retirement system.
But wasn't the PERS board
that's the first big fix.
Wasn't the PERS board on?
What's that?
Wasn't the PERS board on board with the Tier 5 idea?
Well, it's the legislature makes a decision, and when you come to the legislature, everything I'm talking about, there were a number of proposals that the retirement system board offered. We didn't accept those.
Hold that thought.
This was not their idea.
Hold that thought. We got a break. We'll be right back. More with Vice Chairman Robert Johnson. He is the House Minority Leader.
From the Bendable Glass.
Conversations and clarity. What a great way to start your Mississippi day. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Back with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. We're wrapping up the 7 o'clock hour. My guest is Robert Johnson. He represents District 94 in the Mississippi House of Representatives. He is the minority leader. Had to cut you off for the break because of the commercial. You were saying that when we were talking about the PERS board, you said there were other recommendations that they made that the legislature did not accept. Even though that ultimately they were on board with the Tier 5 system or changes? Yeah.
It's like I'm on board because that's the best you got. That's all you're gonna give me. So, we had to do something. And so, but we cut $2.2 billion out of the budget to put an average of $750 a year back in the pockets of Mississippians. But we didn't put that money into PERS. We're passing we just passed a extremely destructive mobile sports betting bill. Oh, it's going to take $80 million if we put it in the PERS. But, we got evidence and we got testimony from all over the country. It's one of the worst things you can do for young men between 18 and 45 years old. Governor DeWine in Ohio said if he had to think about the one thing that he wished he hadn't done was mobile sports betting because the addiction problem is terrible. And we're talking about $80 million. We cut $2.2 billion out of the budget. And look at the ice storm. Look, we had an ice storm before. Why didn't we spend time? And myself and others have offered legislation to say, what are we going to do about all these, utility wires on poles? Can we do something about burying some? And what about providing the Department of Transportation or whatever other agencies we need with the right amount of equipment to deal with tornadoes, ice storms, those kind of things? Why don't we concentrate on the things that are going to, for the health and welfare of the people of the state of Mississippi? We constantly keep doing all these things that don't make any sense.
As an initial salvo for ice storm recovery, the Senate passed $20 million. That's coming to the House. It sounds like there's some debate as to whether or not, as the Senate wants to do, that money should go to MEMA. For distribution, or some of your colleagues think it should instead go directly to the cities and counties that need it. Where do you stand on that?
I'm open to looking. I really think it ought to go to MEMA because it goes directly to the people who need it. People in Humphreys County are still without power, and some of them need food. Some of these communities don't have grocery stores. And so if MEMA can help provide a way, and not having a grocery store means that if your roads are impassable and you can't drive 40 miles to go get the food that you need, then somebody has to help you. But look, there are definitely cities and counties. I don't know.
Is that what your Mississippi Grocery Initiative Act was tied to? House Bill 48, that one is one that died in committee. Yeah. Was that about creating grocery stores?
It was about creating incentives for people to build grocery stores. It was modeled after some national legislation. It provides grants for people. It's like subsidizing people who want to open a grocery store. It doesn't have to be a big one, but it's a big concern. It costs less to buy grocery as it does to buy fast food. So we'd like to see that open up to some people.
One of the bills that you have still alive, we only got 2.5 minutes left. Wanted to ask you about this. House Bill 103, an act making an appropriation to the State Department of Health for the purpose of providing funds for the Mississippi Hospital Emergency Grant Program. That has been referred to Appropriations A. Is it still alive?
I don't know that it is, and I have to check this morning. I can tell you we have a great chairman of public health in the House. Great in the sense that he talks to everybody and he's open to all ideas. And he told me he wanted to continue to talk to me about that bill. I can tell you that that getting it passed is still alive. The code section is still alive. Even if that bill doesn't make it out of appropriations, I have a commitment from the chairman that we'll work on something to help with that. And
ultimately, that bill is designed to do what?
It's designed to encourage and to sustain hospitals that right now on the verge of closing. It's not going to help you build a new hospital, but it's going to try to help keep hospitals that are already open.
We got a message on the C Spire text line that's just kind of wondering out loud if you have aspirations beyond working in the House. There might be a gubernatorial run in your future.
I am flattered that they would think that a 68. My name is not Delbert Hoseman. I'm 68 years old. I don't know if you want to get me started running statewide at 67, but I'm open to anything. I tell you one thing. It's my energy and my passion for the state of Mississippi has not waned. I really care about this state. I think it's the most beautiful state in the country, and I think we have the most potential of any state in the country. So I will do as much as I can in whatever manner I can to help the state of Mississippi.
That wasn't a no.
Nah, that wasn't a no. That wasn't a no. You know, I'm going to keep my options open.
There's just kind of a running commentary that I'm looking at. There was a suggestion that you might be the favorite on the Democrat side if ultimately you went down that road.
You know, if I were on any show other than SuperTalk, I would be excited. But that worries me that the audience on SuperTalk likes me. Am I doing something wrong?
I think it maybe means you're doing something right.
Joking. I come on this show because I think in their core, people in the state of Mississippi are not that different. And we care about the same things.
I always appreciate your time and your perspective. We'll talk again soon, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Y'all have a great day.
You're waking up to what matters. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Always a fun conversation with Robert Johnson. Appreciate his time joining us this morning. As we roll into the 8 o'clock hour, we remind you that this is Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey, looking to manage your personal finances. Our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC, equal housing lender. C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. If you want to join the conversation, that is the best way to do it. We're joined now by the treasurer here in the state of Mississippi, David McRae. Always a pleasure to visit. And Mr. Treasurer, thanks so much for your time.
Good morning, Richard. How are you doing up there? I mean, is it you're thawing out, right?
We have officially thawed out, but the debris removal process is ongoing and will be for a while.
Well, I was riding up 55 a couple days ago, and it was amazing how many trees, not just on the interstate, were snapped. But if you look back up into the fields and everything, how much was snapped over. And I know it's going to be a major loss for the agricultural community with the timber industry, and I know a lot of people in your direction who have timber farms are, very concerned.
Yeah, there's a lot to be concerned about, and those pine trees play a role. But man, they take a beating from ice when it comes the way that it did.
And they're pretty until the ice storm comes.
Yeah.
Well, good.
They play a role. It's like I want to see pine trees at Augusta National, and then wherever else they're necessary. I don't necessarily need them in my yard, though.
Well, it's kind of like the beautiful oak trees down here or up in your area and everything, and then when high wind comes, it goes right over.
Yep, can be bad in a hurry. Pretty well established that the sooner you save money, the better. And when you start young, you end up with more money later if you don't touch it and you allow compound interest to do its work. That is at least in part the idea behind the Trump savings accounts. And I'm curious, as you have looked at this policy from the administration and maybe some of the add-ons from some of the private citizens. I think Michael Dell and his wife are making $250 donations to up to 25 million kids. There's kind of a process that has to happen to be eligible for that. What's your general take on what we're seeing here?
Well, these Trump accounts, which, just started and everything, and now that it's tax season, if you have a newborn, you're able to get $1,000 for that newborn as soon as you apply for them. And anyone listening today that's filling out their taxes, I would highly recommend it. And what you said is exactly what I would say. Whenever you can start early enough to saving for someone, a child, then, it's better. It starts, the compounded interest is a beautiful thing. It starts adding up. And so the way these Trump accounts work is that, again, if you have a newborn, and you apply for it on your taxes, they will deposit, the federal government will deposit $1,000 into an account that the parent is a custodian of until the child reaches the age of 18. And with no money put into it, you can get, I think it is $6,000 by the time the child is 18 years old. If you put up to you can put up to $5,000 into it. If you put the max $5,000 into it, by the time that child reaches the age of 55, it will be worth $13 million.
That's if you put $5,000 a year.
That's correct. Okay. $5,000 a year. So that's the max. But if you put nothing, you get $6,000. And that $6,000 that child did not have prior to being born. That's $6,000 the parents had never put into an account for a child. It's kind of like our college savings accounts, our 529 programs, which I've been on here talking about constantly. Yeah. We don't want, I think the government, federal government, state, me personally, you personally, we don't want people to have debt. And any way you can start a child off on great footing and having just a little bit of money, that impacts massive major life decisions. And when the child is 18, unlike our college savings accounts, these accounts, these Trump accounts, can be used for college, putting a down payment on a home, or used at 18 for whatever they want to use it for. I mean, and start investing it into whatever they want to use it for. Because after 18, it enters into an IRA Roth account, and it goes from there. But it is, I think it's one of the best things that has happened in the last couple of years for kids to get ahead, for young adults to get ahead, and for parents to worry about one less thing for their child as they get older.
IRS Form 4547 is the form that you've got to fill out. 4547, that is for children born between January 1st, 2025 and the end of 2029. And I guess we'll see how successful this is as to whether or not it's a program that is extended beyond that 2029 window.
And you can go to the website. Just Google Trump accounts, and the website will pop up, and it'll explain it. It's a really great website. I must applaud them for doing it. It's a really easy website to understand. It has a little calculator on there to tell how much you can put in, how much the child will have, how much you'll have by the age of 55. It's very, very informative. The Dells actually paid for a Super Bowl commercial. I think it was in the second quarter on Sunday. If you didn't fall asleep watching the amazing field goal competition, but they had a commercial there which I thought explained it extremely well. I mean, the whole idea that you can start somebody off on a great life without debt is just, to me, mind-blowing and great. The Dells have put in money, and it won't last forever. The Dells have said they're only going to put in so much. So if you have a child that's not a newborn and you want to apply for that, go ahead and start applying for that, and they'll start depositing money in as long as that bank account works.
And as I understand it, I think it's $6.5 billion that the Dells have committed to this, $250 for up to 25 million children, and that is in addition to the $1,000 that the government's throwing in, right? So you could start at $1,250? Or is that not right?
That's not right. That's not right. I think
so. Maybe they're defraying some of that $1,000.
From what I understand, is the $1,000 goes to the unborn child. the child that's just born today. And then everybody else gets $250 as long as that pot still exists.
Gotcha.
The $1,000 will exist for the next 2 years.
Okay, that's for the newborns. Yeah.
For the newborns.
Gotcha.
And so once Trump is out of office in 2 years, that sunsets and goes away over time. So that's why it's so important for any parent to go ahead and not delay and not procrastinate and go ahead and sign up for this. Don't think this is going to last forever, because it's not. Go ahead and do it, because there is a very, very tiny window to get this money. And it's money that's sitting there waiting for someone to get. And if you don't get it, somebody else is going to do it.
Somebody said you can sign up online as of yesterday. You don't even have to complete the IRS form. The online form took about 30 seconds yesterday. So, good news there. For
government inefficiency. Who would have thought?
It happens occasionally.
It does.
Since we're kind of in that realm, let's talk college savings. Right now, we're into the spring semester, which means there are a lot of kids that are going to college and a lot of parents that are going to start getting college-related bills, and those are not fun. I've noticed I was behind going through the mail yesterday and got the end-of-year statement on our oldest daughter's college savings account. It's like, hey, we're getting close. She's in 10th grade, and there's about, $5,000 left that's got to be paid. And I was like, that's a pretty good feeling if you've got tuition paid when you get to that point, and it's never too late to start.
It is never too late to start. And just like the Trump accounts, we advocate that people start these as soon as the child is born. But, it's never too late to start. We have 2 programs, as I've said on here before. We have our prepaid one, and we have our checking account version of it. And if, both work, you can do both if you like. There is kind of a better time to use one other than the other, but we'll help you out. You can get in touch with my office, and we'll make sure one works for you and which one works for you. These programs are amazing. Again, we're trying to get people, young adults, to go to college with little to no debt. I've said it on here many, many times. The average child graduates college with $35,000 worth of debt. That may not seem a lot to some people. I think it's a lot. But it does. We know by statistics.
Hey, when you start writing that check every month to pay it back, you realize how much it is in a hurry.
I have people from law school that are still paying back student loans, and I've been out of law school for a bit. And debt accrues over time. But the idea is that we want people to stay here in Mississippi. We want people to have a family. I think we all want people to have a family. We want people to have a home. And by having debt, that impacts when they get to decide those things or how they decide those things. And we want people to have a good life starting out upon graduation.
You hang with me through the break?
I'd love to.
All right, let's talk about National Unclaimed Money Day. That is a big deal. We know that the Treasurer's Office has been very active in making sure that Mississippians understand about the unclaimed money program in our state. Have you taken advantage of that? We'll talk about what that means next. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. The State Treasurer, David McRae, is my guest. We're back with you right after this.
Ask where you heard it. You tell them.
I know you heard it. Right here.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. David McRae, the state treasurer here in Mississippi, is my guest. So today, I guess it is National Unclaimed Money Day. Is that right?
It was actually February 1st, but, every day it's Unclaimed Money Day, when...
In Mississippi, yeah.
I want it to be every day. It's Unclaimed Money Day. When we have all this money that is rightfully owed to citizens of Mississippi that they've lost through no problem of their own, just change your address or just forgot about it. We want to get that back to people. We've returned $180 million to the people of Mississippi since I've been treasurer.
Yeah.
Since 1982, $300 million has been returned. I've returned 180 of it. And that is just something I have to give a shout out to my staff, if any of them are listening. My Unclaimed Money staff, they are amazing. I might be biased, but they are the hardest working state employees you will ever find. They go out, they actively call people. We do these Unclaimed Money tours. They're happy to do it. I think it's because when they go out, and we've been in Oxford before, we've been all around the state. When someone comes in and thinks they only have like $20. And there are people that come in that have $20, but there are also people who come in who end up having, $100,000. We found somebody the other day, a bunch of stock that was $950,000.
Oh wow!
Yeah, wow was everybody's expression. That face you just gave was everybody's expression. And
what was the reaction of the person that did they know that this was out there or had no idea?
I think they're coming in to get it. And we will talk to them and see how it goes. But we find a lot of life insurance policies that are that high. And people are just so excited. I mean, they think it is what it is, and then we find the rest of it. That's our job. We're in the customer service business, and we are trying to help the customer, which is Mississippians, get that money to them. And we're happy to do it. I mean, it's very worthwhile, and my team just loves to do it.
I've gone to the website a couple of times. I think we did it while I was on the air with you one time, and we found that there was, outstanding money. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was, a deposit that had been paid to a utility company that the account had been closed and I hadn't gotten the deposit back, and, an insurance benefit maybe that had not been collected, and it ended up being a few $100s. And it's like, this is really cool. This is money that is mine. Just didn't know it was out there, or had forgotten, or lost track of the fact, and it's really nice to get it back.
Well, it not only some people just lose track of things, but also people change address. When I lived in lived in a house before, the mailman just got frustrated and threw all the mail on the street. So, I mean, things like that can happen. God knows what happens. Things happen, things get stuck in magazines all the time.
Yeah.
And then you get all those junk magazines. I've accidentally thrown things out from that. So, it gets lost. It comes to us. We want to find the rightful owner. We have more money to give out to people. And one thing I want to say before I leave in a few minutes is that we are going to be doing I would call it an emergency data match for the victims of the ice storm. And what that means, we did it last year, about a year ago in southwest Mississippi when they got hit by the tornado.
Right.
What we did is we identified and isolated every single county that was affected by the tornado. So this time we're going to isolate all the counties affected by the ice storm. We're going to find every single person who has money from those counties, and we're automatically going to send them a check. And again, for anybody listening, that is unclaimed money, not the state sending them a check. This is money rightfully owed to them. So we are going to find their unclaimed money, send them a check, and it's roughly going to be somewhere between $7 and $10 million.
That's outstanding. How much money is out there right now that is sitting unclaimed that you're aware of?
Well, it changes every second, but right now it's somewhere in the stratosphere of $350 to $400 million.
$350 to $400 million?
That is correct.
So, I feel like this is a public service when I say give the website, if you don't mind, where people can go and plug in their information so that they can see if any of that nearly $500 million
it's pretty close.
Is yours.
You can go to treasury.ms.gov, search your name, business, church, relative, dead relative. If you think it's owed to you, search your name. Also, do a variety of different ways of your name. If you have a middle initial, put it in there. If you have a full name, put it in there. If your name's kind of strange, spell it a couple different ways, and we will find a way to get it to you. And if you think you're owed something, give us a call. We'll be more than happy to take care of it. People are there. That's their job. They like doing it, I think. And they will be more than happy to do it. I mean, we want to get it to you. We want to do it. And here's a fun thing. When you every dollar giving back to somebody, giving back to the community. It overturned 7 times in the community. I mean, that's great for Main Street. It's great for the state. It's great to getting money out there and buying things and helping the state along. Or, hey, you want to put it in your Trump account. You want to put it in your college savings account. You know, you can do that. I mean, it is, you know, talk about, or you want to invest it in something. You know, whatever you want to do with it. I don't care. We just want to get it back to you.
So here's an example for you. I am 45, and I guess we did this a year or so ago. And there was a place that I lived for, 6 months or a year in college where I had paid a deposit. I don't know if it was to a utility company or to an internet provider or whatever, and had moved on from that address. And there was like a $250 check that I got from Unclaimed money that was that deposit that was due back to me when I moved out. Had no idea. Lance, have you done this? Have you gone on the website and checked?
I am owed. I just need to fill out the appropriate format and form and get it done, man. You know,
there you go.
I got stuff I need to be buying.
Well, I think the state would appreciate that. The thing is, it's, you know, we've made it easy. It used to be you had to do it by paper. I had to go print out the paper, get a notary. That was too much trouble. So we've all done. I mean, you can still do that if that's your thing. But if you want to do it online, we can do it online. And, you know, give us a little time. We can return it fairly quick. We have a backlog, but we can get it pretty quick. Be a little patient with my people, and they'll get it to you. I mean, we want to get it to you, and it's our job to do it.
Last thing for you, and I feel like I ask you this every time you're by, but always interested. We know that the state of Mississippi, the legislature, has got a pretty big nest egg right now. Not just the rainy day fund, but some cash that's sitting on the side, at least in part. Your job is to make sure that money is not just sitting there in a Folgers can buried in the backyard, but that it is active and it is growing. What can you tell us about investment returns for the state in the last 6 months or so?
Our investments are doing great. The market had a little bit of a bloodbath last week. We're hoping this week's going to be better. But you can't depend on one quarter. You got 3 quarters to play. And but last year we made roughly $421 million in investment returns, which is a record for the state. I plan to hopefully make at least that, if not more. We're just going to have to see how the rest of the quarters of our fiscal year goes. I'm hoping they'd go fine. We have roughly, $10.5 billion of excess money sitting around. So we got money to do things that we want to do. And our investments are doing great at the moment. With the market being the way it is, with interest rates maybe coming down with the new Fed chair coming, we're actively pursuing and exploring new ways to invest our money to make sure we're making the best return.
Yeah, it's outstanding. And in terms of investment philosophy, you've pointed out before that you have to be far more conservative with the state's money than you might be with your own or with mine if you were my financial advisor. Really careful with how you go about this, right?
That's right. I mean, it's not my money. It's the state's money. It's the people's money. And so we have to think of like an insurance company that has to have money to be liquid, to liquefy, and so that I can pay bills for people or, if they're owed money, we have to have it. We have to have it there. I mean, the worst day of my life would be if an agency called and I said I didn't have that money for them. I mean, that would be honestly one of the worst days of my life. And, but it's very conservatively done. It's in S&P. It's in things we know, blue chip stocks, American stocks, funds, things like that. No ESG stuff, which I've been very anti-ESG. And it's things that I know will make money. It's things that I know are safe, secure, and have been traditionally a money maker. So we're happy about that. I think we're on a good path, and I'm just going to keep watching the market, keep watching the new Fed chair, and we're going to see what happens. I mean, we're going to have to pivot eventually, I think, with the economy and everything, but we'll just we'll play that game when we get there.
David McRae, State Treasurer in Mississippi, always kind with his time. Thanks for coming by this morning.
All right, Richard. Appreciate it very much.
Always enjoy the visit. Mornings with Richard Cross. We got half an hour left with you. Coming up next, we're going to chat with the Attorney General, Lynn Fitch. Human trafficking summit that happened here in Mississippi last week, and some things that are going out to victims of domestic violence in Mississippi. We will talk about those things with the Attorney General coming up next. Glad to be with you. Thanks for joining the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. We're back right after this.
From the SuperTalk, Mississippi.
You heard it here first.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Here comes the news.
Good to be with you on this Tuesday morning, the 10th of February. Thanks for joining us. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Always a pleasure to visit with the Attorney General of the great state of Mississippi, Lynn Fitch. Attorney General Lynn Fitch joins us right now. A big meeting last week, a human trafficking summit that was held here in the state of Mississippi. General Fitch, this is something that we've talked with you about a lot. It's certainly has been a passion of yours, something that your office has focused on. Tell us about the summit from last week and who was there and what you learned.
Well, good morning, Richard. Always a pleasure to be on the show with you, so thank you for having me this morning.
Good morning to you as well. Thanks for joining us.
Well, it was an incredible event. I have to say that just bringing people together, we had over 500 attendees, and they were faith-based leaders, law enforcement officers, educators, business owners, community leaders. And it was so exciting because everyone came together. We were at Pine Lake Church there in Brandon on last Friday, on February the 6th, and we were kicking off Be the Solution Phase 4. Because the next phase was, what can I do to help end human trafficking? So this entire summit was about bringing people together to go, how can we resolve this? How can we help survivors? And so we had all these attendees. It was exciting because we heard wonderful panels, but we also heard from survivors about what their journey to freedom looked like, what they went through, who their traffickers were, again, how they are accomplished and successful now, and the trials and tribulations that they went through to get there. It was very educational, too. We taught everyone about how to identify and how to report trafficking. So it was an amazing educational opportunity. And then we also did a real hands-on project. We were able to create these freedom bags, Richard, and that put these essential items in there for these human trafficking victims. And then we distributed them to our partners. We had about 30 organizations that were there, and we packed 550 freedom bags, and then all these respective organizations took them so they'd be ready when we are able to rescue a victim, bring a victim in, help them become a survivor. Now they had their own freedom bag, which is their very own personal bag of items that they need to help them on their next steps. So incredible time to be able to have everyone come together. We talked about encouraging everyone, all the leaders that were there, and then take it back into their communities to look at how we report. We have a brand new app called AGO in Action, and so you could download that free app. And then in that app is a Simply Report. So if you're an individual and you're out somewhere and you think, oh, that person might be a trafficked victim, you can go straight to the app and you can turn around and that information will come directly to us. So we can go and determine, is this someone, and it could be just saving a life by somebody just simply reporting. So we're excited about that. And then a very important component of this entire trafficking summit was the power of prayer. We had faith leaders that offered prayers throughout the summit. We encouraged everyone to pray as the International Day of Prayer for our human trafficking victims. So it was very impactful along those lines as well.
You know, you bring up a point that survivors of human trafficking, I'm sure there's this unbridled joy when someone is freed from a trafficking situation, whether it has been for a short time or a long time. But the emotional scarring that goes with that in the days and weeks and months and years after they have been freed from that situation, I'm sure it hits different people differently and probably is based on the experience they went through. Is there a theme that you've heard or that you've seen as to what life after being freed from trafficking looks or feels like?
Well, you're exactly right. And so many of these individuals, it's very tough. Many of them have substance abuse issues as well, because remember what they're doing day in and day out. Their traffickers are making sure that they have the drugs or whatever it might take to keep them engaged in these illegal activities. So when we get them, many times they have these other additional issues, and it is very emotional, very mental, very physical as well. And over half of the individuals are trafficked by someone that they loved and trusted, a family member, a boyfriend. And to hear these survivors last week talk about their journey, and they had all been trafficked pretty much by a domestic partner or a mother or the boyfriend who got them in it, and they had done it for years. So can you imagine what they've been going through? So it's not like once you get them that they can snap and turn right on into their pathway. And we want them all to get back into society without any shame or blame, because not one of these individuals said, I really want to be caught up in this trafficking, but this is how they have been surviving. So we really have to look at and figure out how to meet all of their needs to get them to a successful journey.
Visiting with Attorney General Lynn Fitch, there was a kind of an action item out of this this summit, and it had to do with maybe an ongoing safety piece for victims of trafficking. A donation of 1,000 Ring doorbells. Is that right?
Yes, it was an incredible partnership. You know, Richard, it's always about partnering and everyone coming together and rallying to make a difference. We are so good about that in our state, everyone stepping together to make a positive impact. So, yes, we partnered with Amazon and the Mississippi Coalition Against Domestic Violence. And they donated 1,000 of these Ring doorbell cameras to domestic violence victims. So we're excited. This is we're one of the pilot states for Amazon on this project. The coalition is going to install and put these devices into different victims' homes. That's going to give them some peace, some security, some comfort level, and it also includes a lifetime subscription to the Ring Basic project. So great for these survivors of domestic violence. It also could be in this human trafficking to know that law enforcement's going to be right there with them. It's going to give them a real sense of security.
You talked about identifying and the app that is there, and handing off a tip could be the difference in saving someone's life. What are we looking for? Because I know trafficking comes in all shapes and sizes, and sometimes it looks like normal interaction. So if somebody's listening today, what are the signs that maybe something untoward is going on and we should speak up?
I know, and so many of these individuals look just like someone you would see, in a store. But when you identify and you see individuals that won't look you in the eyes, when you might come in contact with them, or they might not be as cleanly, or they might, just feel uncomfortable in a group, or if you see them in a restroom and they're having no interaction, and you see someone outside waiting on them, or you see a group of young women that might be together, and maybe there is a man or a woman that's kind of the host to make sure they're in the vans or the campers or whatever. So to be on alert like that. And so anytime you might see someone, if you can alert us, then we can determine, because as we say, many times they're hiding in plain sight, as are the buyers. One of the survivors said all of her buyers looked exactly like people that you would think were just sitting around in the audience. So it's alarming, as I said, that they have these victims, again, right here in sight, and then the buyers come right on in as well.
When you say buyers, I mean, we're talking about women primarily that are being used in prostitution rings. Is that right?
That's right. So the buyers are purchasing the sex. And however, remember, human trafficking is anywhere from $150 billion to $300 billion illegal dollars every year across our globe, which is horrific. that much money passes for using these trafficked victims. We now changed our laws in Mississippi to say that these women are not going to be charged with prostitution. And I think that's very powerful because we've got to give them control back. They are committing felonies because of where they are. We've got a bill up right now at the legislature to try to expunge some of these previous records to help these victims to become survivors so they can get jobs, they can upskill, they can go to different classes. So we're hoping that will pass and give them more empowerment, too, for their next steps.
Last thing for you, Attorney General. Is there anything that's going on in the legislature that you're watching closely right now as it pertains to your office?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Certainly we have some bills up right now. One is if you're a human trafficker and we convict you, you must register as a sexual offender. So we're optimistic that that's going to pass. We've got a lot of crime prevention bills that I think are really important across our state to everyone, primarily in the gang area. We do have gangs in our state, Richard. We've got over 200 gangs right now, all the big ones, a lot of neighborhood gangs, and we see that these children are being utilized, they're being recruited to go out and commit these crimes. So we've got some legislation that says, one, I've got to help that child if that child has a gun in committing these crimes, but then I also got to get to the recruiter. Who's the person that recruited this young child, gave him the gun, so that I can also charge and prosecute that individual? I think that's going to be very impactful to help us stop the gang flow and to stop some of these criminal activities. Even as much as, we saw last fall a number of homecoming activities where a lot of victims were shot and killed. A new law that says you are not allowed to shoot into an assembled crowd.
Thank you, General Fitch.
Right now.
From the Venable Glass.
Now, what can be offered to you?
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Information.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Hey, Lance, guess what?
What up?
I found $50.
Nice.
Says it was an office suite that I rented. This would have been back in like 2007-ish, 2008. A refund that was due. $50.
Yeah, if you would have done that today, that's probably like $350. That 50 now from 08.
Yeah.
That's inflation.
That $50 had been invested all that time.
That's right.
No doubt. Appreciate you being with us this morning. Mornings with Richard. What were you going to say?
I was just saying you can take that $50 and apply it toward the remaining payment of the college plan.
Yeah.
You're almost done with that, he said.
Or the remaining payment. I think I have like a year-long overdue bet with you, and I don't remember what it was, but I owe you a meal.
You do.
I just need to, get a gift certificate and send it to you. I don't like welching on a bet.
No, you've been too kind. You've given me some great swag to wear, so no worries, brother. We're even.
I'm not sure that I feel like that is adequate. I mean, a bet is a bet. I want to bring something to your attention. I got a message about this last evening. You may remember that. Oh, time is running together. I guess it was a week and a half ago. We had a conversation with a representative of Samaritan's Purse, and some of the people in Oxford, where Samaritan's Purse is headquartered at Christ Presbyterian Church, reached out and kind of wanted to give us an update and a plea for help. This is specific to Samaritan's Purse, but please understand it's not exclusively related to Samaritan's Purse. We talked with Steve Tybor last week from 8 Days of Hope. There are volunteer opportunities that exist there. There are other organizations that are continuing to help in the recovery effort, not just in Lafayette County, but in Panola County and Tallahatchie County and Tippah County and Tishomingo County and other parts all across North Mississippi. So I want you to hear what I'm saying as it pertains specifically to Samaritan's Purse, but know that it is not limited, and there are other organizations that have similar needs. So, when we talked with Samaritan's Purse, the representative, kind lady, told us that the way to sign up to volunteer was by going to their website, SP, as in Samaritan's Purse, volunteer.org, fill out a simple online form, and then they have training sessions. And it's like safety training sessions daily. Samaritan's Purse announced this past week that they were going to stay in Oxford through the end of February at a minimum. Here's why. As of, this is 2 days ago, and the numbers may have gone up, there had been a total of 1,176 work order requests. 105 of those had been completed. There were 54 open jobs, the jobs that were in progress, and 1,017 that had yet to be served. Now, they have put a priority ranking system in place where their focus, in terms of order of priority, has been older people and lower income people. So people who do not have the physical ability to take care of their own property or their own business themselves, and then people who are in lower income parts of the community, maybe that can't afford to go and hire somebody else. That doesn't mean the other claims won't be helped. It's just in terms of order of priority. They are averaging 36 daily volunteers. There were 9 new volunteers 2 days ago. A total of 382 volunteers have worked with Samaritan's Purse in Oxford and Lafayette County since they began their work. An average of 232 hours per day, and a total of almost 5,000 volunteer hours served since this work began. But there's a lot of work still to go. Sunday morning at church, I got to meet 2 gentlemen, Bob and Van. See if I can remember. Bob was from Columbus, Ohio, and Van was from, goodness, may have been the Pacific Northwest. I don't remember specifically. Van had been on about 30 different humanitarian deployments for Samaritan's Purse, and Bob had been doing this for a while as well. Bob said, I'm retired and I love to run a chainsaw, and this has been a great spot for me. They were incredibly gracious. The work that's going on is incredible, but there is a significant need for volunteers to continue to try to work through these over 1,000 requests for help. Some of them really small, really fast, some of them bigger projects. But there is an opportunity for you if you would like to serve, spvolunteer.org. And again, I'll remind you, 8 Days of Hope was an organization that we have worked with and talked with. They've got volunteer needs that Steve told us about as well. You can go to their website, 8 Days of Hope, and check that out also. Thanks for being with us on this Tuesday morning, the 10th of February. For Lance Tolbert and all our guests, I'm Richard Cross. We hope you have a wonderful day.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.